Hello, I'm Bill Anderson. I want to welcome you to the first episode of The Warrior Medic. And since this is the first episode, I should probably explain what we're doing here. This is the gathering place for men who have survived childhood abuse and trauma. Many of you likely are not even aware that you were abused. You simply know that something is wrong. You can't name it, but it's there. And you're tired. You're tired of carrying it all alone. That's why we're here. This channel exists for one reason: to find men where their wounds live, not where they wish they were, and not where their wife thinks they are, but where they actually are. If you've never set foot in a church, you're welcome here. If you've walked away from faith and never looked back, you're welcome here. And if you're sitting in a pew every Sunday and still feel like something is broken, you especially are welcome here. We're going to talk about things most men never say out loud: the rage, the emptiness, the father who wasn't there or wished he wasn't, the marriage that's dying, the man in the mirror that you don't recognize anymore. Here, there is no performance, there is no religion, just truth and a way through it all. This is episode 1, and this is where it all starts. My own story. My brokenness is the roadmap to your healing. For many years, I thought about documenting my pain, but I never did. The cost seemed way too high, the vulnerability too great, and the purpose unclear. I'm willing now, not because I haven't figured out, because I've walked through that valley and I know there are men there right now struggling in the darkness who need to know someone else made it through. So, what is my story? I grew up with a broken father. He was home, but he was broken. And I want to be careful how I say that, because some of you have fathers just like mine, and you know exactly what I mean. And some of you had fathers who are simply absent, and you're not sure that it counts. Trust me, it counts. My father was physically abusive. He was emotionally brutal. The home I grew up in was not a safe place, and the damage that does to a boy runs deep, deeper than most men ever realize. Now, I escaped that environment eventually, but here's what nobody tells you, and this may be the most important thing that I tell you today. You can leave the house, but you cannot leave the wounds. I carried every single one of them with me every day, into my adult life, into my work, into my marriage, into every room that I walked in for decades before I even began to understand what I was carrying. So today, let me tell you what those wounds look like in my life, because I suspect some of them are going to sound familiar. I'm only going to talk about 4 of the wounds, but trust me, the list is far longer. The first wound I want to talk to you about is anger or rage. I had an anger that could go from 0 to an explosion in seconds. Not a slow burn and not a gradual build. It was a switch. Something would happen: a word, a situation, a look, and something in my mind would simply decide the consequences be damned, and I would become my worst self instantly. I didn't understand it, and I could not predict it, and I couldn't stop it. If you know that switch or you have that switch, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the second wound is authority. I hate being told what to do, what to think, or how to do anything. by anyone, by my boss, my colleagues, or even my wife, whom I love. It didn't matter how reasonable the request was. It didn't matter how much I respected that person. The moment someone tried to direct me, something inside me pushed back hard. I told myself it was independence, that I was strong, I was confident, but it wasn't. It was a wounded boy who'd been controlled by a man with a belt, refusing ever to be controlled again by even anyone, including those who love him. Wound 3 was my emotional isolation. I wanted close relationships. I genuinely did. I wanted friends. I wanted my wife to truly know me. I wanted to belong somewhere. But every time someone got too close, I backed off. Not intentionally, not consciously, just instinctively. No explanation, no warning. Like a stiff arm in a football game. Just gone. I can't tell you why. I just knew that closeness felt dangerous, and the automatic response was distance. So I lived my whole life surrounded by people, and for the most part, alone. And then the fourth wound, one that many of you may understand and may even carry yourself, is the performance and the approval that never came. I was driven. I accomplished things people said couldn't be done. I took on impossible tasks, and I delivered again and again and again. And I told myself it was ambition. It was work ethic. It was who I was. But it wasn't. I finally figured out in my late 40s, I wasn't chasing success. I was chasing my father's approval. Approval from a man who never gave it, a man who may never have been capable of giving it. And because he couldn't give it to me, I started looking for it everywhere else, in my bosses and my peers, substituting every authority figure in my life for the father who was supposed to tell me, son, I'm proud of you. And here's the brutal part. Even when I succeeded, even when I did the impossible, people weren't impressed. They were threatened. They pulled back. And I withdrew even further into a performance nobody could ever actually reward. Chasing approval from a ghost and coming up empty every time. Now, here's the thing. I didn't tell you any of that so you'll feel sorry for me. I told you that so you will recognize yourself. Because here's what I know after years of walking through my own healing. These wounds don't stay in the past. They travel with you. They show up in your marriage, in the way you parent your children, in the way you respond to your bosses every morning, in the way you lie awake at 3 in the morning knowing there's something wrong and not being able to put a name to it. The wound you carried out of your childhood is active right now in your life today. And willpower alone has never healed it. Not once. Not in any man's life. You cannot think your way out of a wound this deep. You can't discipline your way out of it or succeed your way out of it. I tried that for 20 years and I have an empty trophy case to prove it. The wound needs something else entirely. And that is what this podcast exists to walk you towards. We're going to take one step at a time, one episode at a time. We're going to go all the way through. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with one thing, and it's not a list, not homework, just one question. And I want you to sit with it honestly before episode 2 next week. What is the one thing in your adult life you cannot seem to fix? The thing you've tried to control, to manage, to outrun, and it's still there. Where did you first feel that way? You don't answer this out loud. You don't post it somewhere. Just sit with it. Because the place just thought of, that's where you're going. If today's episode stirred something in you and you want to go deeper into my story, I wrote a book called Forged by Fire. It's the full account, the abuse, the wounds, and the long road towards healing. You'll find that link in the show notes below. Come back next week for episode 2 because we're just getting started. My name is Bill Anderson, and this is the Warrior Medic. No man left behind.